Yeah, how does that work, Robert? I mean, as a lawyer, is it worth it to get on a high-profile case um, for a firm? I mean, don't they get some money from the court to at least cover their expenses and things like that?
Yeah, you can go to the court and request reimbursement, but it's typically not going to be what you'll get in private practice, right? Some lawyers are charging $1,000, $1,500 an hour, but you can say you want to just apply your client's indigent and you want to tap into kind of public defense funds and they'll reimburse you. You can also do this. Some people will do this for experts. So you can petition the court to set aside some money to go get an expert witness, go hire somebody because your client can't afford it. So there are ways to dip into that money, but there is some benefit to high profile cases. Like you guys may have been following some of these reflecting pool cases. There was the Olympian defendant who was charged with crimes, who was the guy on the bike. You may have seen the video.
Right.
Yeah. And he just he was on with the Chris Hayes guy over on, I think, MS Now. And his lawyer was Norm Eisen. And Norm Eisen, as we know, is the guy who's very anti-Trump. He's been at the head of a lot of election litigation against the president. I think helped coordinate a lot of the first impeachment stuff. And we were talking about that. People were asking, why is Norm Eisen on a simple misdemeanor case? Why is he handling this? And it's because he can get on CNN. He can get on MS Now and he can stand by this guy's side and say, as part of his thesis and his theme, that Trump is, committing retribution and attacking all these people. So it kind of serves him thematically for what he does. And he continues to be the go-to guy for these types of cases. So the next time this happens, he gets a Comey, he gets a Letitia James, he gets some of these high-profile county cases and can really make a name out of it.
So he's marketing, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, it's free marketing to show up on these cables and just
there were seven additional
these charges.
There were 7 additional arrests of the cutters today, Robert. The guys guys and gals who cut the liner underneath the reflection pool. I mean, what are they charged with other than, felonious misdemeanors of reckless knife use or something?
Yeah, and I've been looking up these cases and I can't find any of the details on them. On our channel, we like to look at the documents and see exactly what the nature of the charges are. The Olympian, Norm Eisen, said that they were just basic government destruction of government property charges that were just misdemeanors. They weren't even felonies. So, and they're being charged out of, I think, the DC Superior Court, so not federal court. We've seen a lot of Jeanine Pirro kind of out there saying, we're going to prosecute these people and bring them to justice. She, I think, does have some role in the district, like the District of Columbia courts, but predominantly she's in federal court, and I've not seen any charges in federal court for anything like that. So
that's weird. Well, I was watching you last week or the week before when you started to give with this brilliant analysis of your first attempt, I think it was, I caught, of the executive order of Trump utilizing the United States Postal Service to check on the mail-in ballots. And when I first read the whole thing, I just thought this was mad genius, Lex Luthor level stuff.
Yeah.
Robert, that they came up with. And I went, holy shit, I didn't see that coming. And now it seems to be coming, according to everyone.
Yeah, it was brilliant. And I was not expecting that. Somebody was really thinking through the puzzle pieces.
Yep.
They thought, if the states won't give us the lists, and they're suing all over the place to get the list, I think it's 16, maybe even more now, where Harmeet Dillon and the Civil Rights Division are going to just make sure, and there are federal rules, there are federal laws under HAVA and the NVRA that say that they can go and check these lists because the states have to maintain the lists in order to get some funding and money to do elections. And they can, there's a modest oversight capability there. But as soon as those lawsuits happen, man, all the blue states just put up the force field and put up the shields.
Yeah.
And the judges are supporting them. And there's not going to be enough time to get this up to the Supreme Court and back down. So they're getting blocked. They're getting stalled out. And I think they're going to be appealing a lot of these things. And so ultimately it's going to go up to SCOTUS. But for the time being, they're blocked. And so the feds came up and, they've got some very clever legal smith in the administration.
Well, never mind legal. I mean, physical brilliance with the barcode, blocking it through the barcode of the federal agency that ostensibly Trump controls because it's the Postal Service. I wouldn't have thought of that in a million years.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and they're getting blocked out a lot right now. So actually, just yesterday there was another judge who came down. We've got lawsuits flying all over the place, so it's really fast moving and fast developing. But they're slowly piecemeal, kind of one by one, blocking the various components of the order. And so, if your audience, if they're not familiar with the full order, it was really broken up into two main components.
Explain to the audience what we're talking about, because they may not know what we're talking about.
Yeah, it was actually brilliant. So, of course, the Postal Service is a federal agency. They handle mail. And so the feds don't have jurisdiction over state elections, which is a good thing. We have a federalist system. So we've got, two separate parallel processes, and there's a separation of powers between the two. But the federal government is not required to help you commit mail fraud. And so what this executive order did is it said, we're going to do a couple things. If we can't get those lists that I was talking about, the states maintain their lists. And these are notoriously problematic lists. I mean, they have millions of people on them, and they don't do anything to make sure that they remain valid. And there was one lawsuit, just to give an example before I go into the order, where Judicial Watch, this awesome organization that sues people, they filed a lawsuit saying that they've identified, just based on the math, at least 840,000, something like this.
Yeah, 837, I think the number is roughly.
Yeah, a massive number, almost a million people that are ghost voters in California. And these are essentially registrants on the list that have not been removed. And they went through, it was an awesome lawsuit, where they looked at all the counties and they were just checking effectively the numbers on their lists. And every year, whether those numbers were growing, how many people were removed as a percentage, how many people were getting removed off of these various county lists. And they went at a baseline, went to San Diego County, and they saw that they were removing a normal number, whatever the number is, within 2%, 3%. They say people move, people die, people change their names, they update their registration. So there's action, there's activity happening in this one county. And they compared that against the other California counties, and they found it was like 1/10 of 1% in some of these other counties that have millions of voters that don't have any maintenance happening. You're just not seeing any changes. And I think that's a huge problem, because then you have all of these extra ballots that are just flying around out there. And I've told this story anecdotally, but when I was living in Arizona for, I think, 2 election cycles, I bought a home out there, and I would get every election this other guy's ballot who I knew was dead. Like, he died. We bought the house from him, and I got his ballot, kept, continually getting delivered to me. And if I was an unscrupulous person, then I would have opened that ballot, filled it out, and turned it back in, and nobody would have known. It would have counted, and there's no proof that I am this guy. I don't have to put a copy of my ID in or anything. And so it would have gone back and been counted. And so we want to just make sure that's not happening. When you move, you come off the list. When you die, you come off the list. That way, we don't have, according to Judicial Watch, just their basic assessment, an extra 840,000 so-called ballots that are just floating out there that anybody.
Well, I mean, there are 23 million mailed out, Robert. I mean, it's to every registered voter in the state. So you have an election that may have 8 million people voting. That leaves you like 16 million ballots floating around unused.
Exactly. And you just go pick them up. It's like free money, as long as you can just go get those. And they're being sent, as we saw with the arrest that took place. A woman pleaded guilty in California on Skid Row for being paid to go pay other people to register to vote.
Right.
So compensation in order to get them on the list. So homeless people who are then getting ballots sent to homeless shelters. And we've seen this phenomenon all over the place, where they go to homeless shelters, they go to senior care centers, they go to addiction treatment centers, they go to just simple UPS PO boxes where nobody actually resides at all. Like, so there's not a resident there. And these ballots are just sent out everywhere. So all you got to do is go collect them. It's like free money. You just pick it up.
That's the end of the process. The beginning of the process, as you described, are people getting $1 a signature straight up on a clipboard. For everyone they sign up and register to vote. So then they get paid. They may not even be aware of what they are in the process. The homeless person signs up, doesn't even have an address. And then those signatures go to another level of handlers out here, Democratic handlers, who then, get the mail-in ballots sent out to them.
Right. And then there also, we saw according to a video, somebody went down there and communicated with a bunch of them, and they said, no, they came back out and then asked me to vote. So then they brought me a choice. You can vote for Nithya Raman, you can vote for Karen Bass, and we'll give you another $2. And that's a federal
right.
crime.
It's still, we're just some people across the country, they still are not done counting. They're at 99% in the mayoral counting race. And the reason I think they're not done is the people who are doing the counting will be unemployed after that 1% is counted, Robert.
It's crazy. Yeah, the numbers are crazy. The whole system is convoluted, and we like to say, you make your money kind of in the gray area. If there's a simple solution and you can solve these things, then there's no need for all of these mechanics and all of these resources and all of this effort for which you get paid. In this case, it's in political power. But by making it more convoluted and making it difficult, there's insertion points. There's points to exploit that you can take advantage of. And I think that's really what the executive order was trying to stop. So then Trump issues this thing and he says, okay, look, if we can't get your list that you're not maintaining, then what we'll do is make our own list. For the federal government, we have Social Security, we have Homeland Security, we have all sorts of agencies that already know these details.
Right.
So we'll just use the existing law, the agencies that already have the power to do this.
In other words, Social Security would know who was dead, for instance, on a miniature level.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
and they should have a pretty good idea who's a citizen too. If you're born here, you get a birth certificate, you get a Social Security number, and then there are other agencies that will validate. So like if you need government benefits or stuff like that, they'll just gobble that data up. And there's another agency I'm thinking of right now that was on the list, but it's at the tip of my tongue. But there's a whole slew of them.
Yeah,
and they said we'll just
was it Medi-Cal or was it local Medi-Cal, or that could be
another federal agency,
or Medicare.
Homeland, Social Security. There's so many of them, but
the idea would be that they would exchange lists. That the state would turn over the federal list, it would be culled, and then everybody who was eliminated from that, the final list would be legal.
Yeah. So ultimately, the feds would make their list. They would disclose that list to the states.
Yeah.
The states then could update the list. So they were expecting that, there's going to be some mismatch here. Like we'll have people that you don't have, you'll have people that we don't have. And so we're going to work out a process whereby we can reconcile those lists. But it's not the federal government giving them a list. It's not saying you have to use our list. You guys still make your own list. If you don't want our list, that's fine. The blue states said, we don't even want you to make a list. Like you can't even make it. The red states were all thrilled about it. They all said, let's get a list. It's going to save us a bunch of work and administrative headache and oversight. And, we're not positive. And there's all these other programs that already exist under federal law, like E-Verify, and there's a SAVE database. And you want to validate that you have right to work in the country, that you're a citizen. So we're putting you on IRS, presumably has a lot of this data.
Right, IRS, yeah.
So we're assembling it. And then once we create that list, it'll be helpful to the states. And in all this litigation, the red states are coming crashing into the lawsuit saying we're in favor of it. Like they're on the Trump side.
Did a federal judge approve this initially?
So the judge didn't necessarily approve it, but he just stopped the lawsuit from having any effect because and there's so many of these lawsuits, but there was one of them in DC. The judge was Carl Nichols on the first one that you're probably thinking about.
Yeah.
They sued and he just said, there's no harm. I haven't identified any harm yet. You're asking for this preliminary injunction to stop this from going on, and nothing's been implemented. We haven't even seen the rules yet. And so once the harm comes and they say that people are not being allowed to vote or they're going to be disenfranchised or whatever, then there'll be a harm. Then I can come in and intervene, and the case will be ripe enough in order to move forward.